I got a guy.
Okay.
And he's very close to me. He actually lives in my home, and we've been together for over 20 years. It's my husband.
Very nice. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We had such a fantastic conversation with Constance the last show about all the work that you do. And the arts is so extensive, and I want to talk about that with you today. So we're surrounded by some of your work, and we'll get to that, but I want to ask a couple of questions. One is, we always start from the beginning, and I mean, not necessarily that far back, but like
you caught my thinking.
The beginning of when you first discovered that you were interested in the arts.
Well, I got to the point where I realized I was going to be a photographer through what my dad said, and you know, if I'm going to do something, you know, you really got to strive to do something good, and like having your, you can call it, you know, a handicap, but not being able to hear. You have to be better than everybody else. They say that anyway, so it's a good thing. And I decided I'm going to be a photographer. I'm going to go to the best school I can possibly get into. And I don't know how it happened, but I did. I got into Rochester Institute of Technology.
Oh, that's a great school.
And I spent the first four years there, struggling, as we mentioned earlier, with commercial photography, fashion photography, and then we thought, wow, I'm really good in fine art. And everybody really encouraged me to do the fine art. So I actually went back for one last year to get a BFA. And that BFA got me in my graduate school, which was Cranbrook Academy of Art, which was #2 art school at the point. Now here's a really funny thing about that is I didn't apply for them because I thought, I didn't even know they were #2. I went there because they had what was called a pass-fail system. I thought they had a pass-fail system. I'm going to do that because how can you judge art? How can you say this art's better than that art? I'm like, a pass-fail, when you already identified one art isn't necessarily better than the other one, but you can strive to make them better. Sure. One of those qualities of doing so. So I went to, I got accepted at Cranbrook. Nice. And
how was that experience?
Yeah, it's like I did not plan that. I remember telling I was going to go to San Francisco Art Institute. I was going to go there because for graduate school I got to get out of Rochester.
Yeah.
And I went to Cranbrook, and I was talking to one of the people there. I got accepted to go like, I got accepted to one of the schools so far. Oh, which one's that? Cranbrook. I'm going like, oh, that's really good. You going to go? No, I'm still waiting to hear from San Francisco. What are you? Why would you do that? And I'm going like, it's a really good school. I go, how good can it be? 20 miles from Detroit.
You totally.
They were the #2 art school, and I think that's really part of my success. For some reason, I don't take in all those things. I just go innately when I do, and they work out.
Right. Intuitively, you knew that there was something there that you needed to be and study, and it was there. Right. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that story. So you went to school as a photographer, then you went to school as an artist, to become an artist, fine art, and then you circled back to photography. Is that what happened?
Yes, in a way. I've always been in photography. It's just one way or another.
And so what is your first experience in the world of photography? When you were like called upon by someone out there and
this is actually a story. I don't know if it's photography. I remember having an argument with my father. We were in Rochester, of all places, with the grandparents, and we had one of those mowers, and he gets there and I go, look at that, look at this good shot, and he goes, what? I go, and he took a photo too, and I'm going like, oh, I'm a better photographer than you, because I'm a little kid. I wasn't a little kid, but a teenager, you know, you got the attitude. And he's going like, and he goes, he tells you, no, you're not. You have to do this, and that. And that's the point I realized that photography is difficult. What are you going to do with it?
The cameras you started on too, like your first camera, what was that?
Polaroid.
A Polaroid camera.
I love Polaroid. I remember in graduate school, I was still doing the Polaroids. I just love Polaroids. And I remember they brought up the concept. They were talking about art. And it's like, I never made the connection. It's like, there's something about the art, the way you look at it and the way you see it, that it can be instantly created and seen.
Right.
And that's kind of part of the process. You don't even think of when you're doing things, even when you don't get the instant process. If you have an extended point of time, the concept and everything can be totally different.
So the artist in you, the fine artist in you says, we can paint that with an image that's taking a long time, which is what the old masters would do.
Right.
They would try to capture an exact duplicate of a family
from the camera score later,
right.
which is actually the forerunner of photography. Yes, the camera score.
Camera score. Yeah.
It basically projected an image. They actually put a pinhole in the front window, and they noticed that you can get an image on the wall. Mm. And then they started noticing that the perspective of it wasn't what they were getting. Okay, now let's try to make it more real. They're always striving for.
Right. So the artwork that we're surrounded by is a combination of art, your photography, as well as your artistry, your fine art. Would you say that photography is a fine art?
Part of photography is you can have multiple images, and they always thought that if you can do multiple images, it's not really art. I mean, you can just do it to infinity. And so now we had to think of what are we going to do to make this an art. And that's why I think a lot of artists also try to make things that are unique and one of a kind.
Right.
And if it can be reproduced, it can be reproduced as a series with slight variations in them. Someone like Warhol did with his silk screening print. Mm-hmm. It's photographic based. Right. It's not a photograph, but still photograph based.
So then there's that question of what is art versus fine art.
Art is, it can be decorative. You put up, you look at it, it looks very good, it's very, very nice. And you look at the visual image, it's very, you get something back from it. It's like, okay, I like that. Now, fine art, you try to raise the level even more, what you have there, to transcend the medium.
Right.
And you want other people to see that, and then with that comes the language. You got the language there, you have a message that's coming across, and you want to connect that with the viewer. Mm. So you either lead the viewer in, or you can project to the viewer what you want to communicate.
Michael brought some of these items here today, his artwork here today, to show us, and they're all very unique and different, but they all respond to what, Michael, you were just saying about connecting the audience to the message. One of the pieces that I love, and I want to talk about, is this one right here, because it's a picture of Constance in a yoga pose. If everybody remembers Constance, she's a Reiki practitioner that we had on the episode number 3. So this picture, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Taking the photograph, she's a Reiki master, they don't allow any electronics.
So Reiki doesn't allow any electronics?
No, at all, because electronics is bad, you know. Well, it's an energy, you know, it creates energy around you, like it's electricity. Mm-hmm. You know, electricity can be good, but in general, you want the peaceful mode and everything. You're not going to get that from that. Right. So I decided to, using the historical processes of photography that we have. And this particular one is a salt print process from the 1800s that they use, salt solution. Mm-hmm. And then the salt react with the silver nitrate. And this one was taken with a glass negative in a wooden camera from the 1800s.
Now, how many people today do you think really just still do this type of...
There's a group of people doing it, and they're still out there, but I gotta say it's probably only like maybe 2% of the photography out there that's being done. And because the digital age has really gotten lost, but at the same time, you're getting the backlash. Now it's a lot stronger. They want to get away from that. They want to get back to the basics. They want to get back to the historical process of what photography used to always be about.
And that's where the fine art comes in.
Yes,
I think it's a much more connection. There's more connection to the physical process of how something is made. Do you get a lot of your inspiration with your work from the nature?
Lately, I didn't before. But now I do a lot of walks and everything, and I notice all the things around me, and so I photograph it. A lot of these photographs you'll see are pretty much done on my phone. I just redo the phone, I make a negative out of that, and then I start working, so it becomes my baseline.
Okay, so you really are connecting a lot of the new and the old.
And I just take various elements, as you see in all my work, and that's what I try to project, what I feel. And I know what that is.
And as someone is looking at your art, I can feel that as well. I feel the peace. I feel the artist's work, which is really wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
A couple things. We talked about these over here,
the
but
process.
What did we have over there? Let me ask you.
Here we have, after we were talking about combining the cyanotype and the gum print, this one is a pure gum print. It shows you how you can vary the color and, and the imagery. I always like duality. I think duality is just a natural state that people don't really think of. And in this case, you know, you have the leaves in the background, then you have the foreground of another totally different type of
totally
plant.
different, like it's almost like and that's done with printing process.
Yeah, same parts that we explained before. These were actually taken with an iPhone.
That was taken with your iPhone. Very nice. So, and how about this one? Let's just keep going through these.
And I left the top in the process is a horseshoe crab.
Let's see.
Done with cyanotype.
Cyanotype.
And you can see in here, it's subtle for now, but in the print, what you would bring a viewer into. They have to come in closer to see. So you actually pull them in. Here is a landscape of the cyanotype.
Oh, anyway. I see, yes.
And then you got the clouds, but they become more the horseshoe crab.
Right.
So to me, this really says life of all the variety and everything around it.
Because we all know what a horseshoe crab looks like, texturally, color-wise, but this is a little bit more. It says something is a little different about it, and then you want to go closer and you want to see the beauty that is the landscape, and then you start to see the clouds. It's really great. And then let's see this one.
Okay, this one is a total example of the other one. This is a cyanotype.
I get lost in this. I just want to look at it. Yeah, I see if this were on my wall, I would get lost in looking at this beautiful picture because it keeps going. There's a lot of depth to it, and the colors are soft and very soothing. And there's one more here. Let's just take a look at that.
Well, thanks for saying that, too. It's like, after a lifetime of being an artist, it's great to hear that.
Yeah.
Here's another variation in the horseshoe crab. I just wanted to put something in the space and have the horseshoe crab work as more graphic rather than more of the form and what it's going to do in this environment. I want to make you think what it's doing in its environment rather than just what I'm thinking what it is.
Right, because it's almost like it's taken you out of its environment. The horseshoe crab we normally see in the water, right? But it's now surrounded by or made of other elements of nature, which we don't normally see. It's a different life form. It takes on a completely different experience and energy. One thing I like to just talk about is like if in your home you're connected, you go out into the world, and if you connect with art, fine art, in any shape or form, three-dimensional, two-dimensional, if you're connecting with it, the energy, you're actually feeling the energy of the artist.
And the meaning of the art can change, and that's the part of most artists have a problem dealing with, or something like that. Once you take this into someone else's place, it is now communicating a certain way, different than what it was before. And the work should change as it goes, if it's going to be successful. I want that constant strive of trying to make that connection better, make something stronger, or in my own way, connect with the element that I'm working with.
Sure. Right. And in this case, many of these items, most of that's nature and connecting with nature.
I think people these days have lost contact or experience with art that much because if you ask me, the core of learning is art.
There's no fine line. It's very, very unique.
It can blend.
You can say you're an artist, right? I'm an artist, but you can also say you're a fine artist. And there's so much artwork we get so sick of and tired of. Yeah. And why do we do that? Why do we get sick and tired of art in our visual? Yes, I want to ask you. Look like you have a good answer to that. Why do we get sick and tired of art?
Because it's been repeated without the creativity, it becomes boring. Because whenever we see somebody, oh wow, did you see this work? It's still there.
Right.
It's just not that many people can do it.
Right.
And everybody's just mimicking everybody else. You know, what are you doing to push the element? This is really nice, you know? but what can you do to improve it?
What is improvement, though?
Improvement in connecting to the viewer and making them respond in a different way, making them think in a different way, making them realize, like, wow, what am I looking at? What should I be looking at? It's not even that you should be looking at, but you should be asking, what should I be looking at? And if you can create the person to be able to do that, looking at your art, I feel I'm a little bit more successful. Because that becomes the language of art. You're not just looking at a picture. I hope not.
No, you're actually, yes, you're communicating with the artist.
I do everything I can to incorporate, there's something going on here. There's some kind of magical energy, and I hope to communicate that.
Beautiful. I love that. That was great. That was perfect. Now we're going to work on another question.
Okay.
Some of the things you were saying earlier really kind of touched on the, of course, everything here can be in your home, and that's part of connecting with an artist. I would suggest that you go out and find some artists to hang out with, because there's a lot to be learned from, and also they see things differently. They see the world a little differently. So this is the time of the show, Michael, where I ask you a question, and it's really, do you got a guy or do you have a gal? Michael, do you have a guy or a gal? I know it's
I got a gal.
You got a gal.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, for 20 years.
That's Constance.
She's pretty much always been there, It's like giving you the focus and everything. Like I said earlier, doing work, I actually left it for a while. Almost like becoming a sabbatical. You have, I don't know if it's burnout or something like that, it just wasn't getting anywhere. Wasn't happy with what I did, I just left that. And she just gradually, not pushing hard, she just gradually say, okay, why don't you do a little bit more of your art? It's one step at a time. You keep going, you're going to reach a destination.
Right.
You may not even know what it is, but it's there. I literally work on the feeling of what I get. And I can understand body language very well, because growing up as hearing impaired as I was, one of the big emphasis was on body language.
Sure.
And I guess that incorporates itself a lot into the things I do, even though I don't give it much thought. It's like I can get that core, I know a person when I see them from the way they move.
So I love that your gal is Constance.
Oh, yeah.
That's wonderful. Would you be able to sort of give us a little bit of, give us a name of someone who you could tag your someone who maybe inspired you growing up, it's maybe still local that you still connect with? Or
yes, I just reconnected with one of my colleagues from RIT, and we working on we decided to work on a project, since I do the alternate processing. She lived pretty close to where Van Gogh grew up, and she's doing a project with, okay, let's photograph this for the museum that pretty much specializes in Van Gogh. And she posted them, and they have a good idea, like, okay, let's take these photos from around where Van Gogh grew up and everything, let's take photographs of them and use them with the albumin print that's historically significant of his time.
So the albumin prints is the style of printing photography at the time of 1800s. And you're collaborating with this longtime friend that you've met in college and you're sort of working in the same capacity, taking her photographs, and then you are doing the albumin prints, which is one of your specialties.
In one of the greatest museums in the world.
And that's amazing. That's really fun. One of the greatest museums in the world.
Why did this happen?
So can we say that? Can we say that this could be your girl? Like we can actually pump her in from get her in here through a Zoom call, and we could say tag your
I believe she'll like that.
So, Michael.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It was really an
education.
The conversation. Oh, we can continue.
And the search for meaning.
The search for meaning, yes, and we only hit the surface of that because there's so much more we can talk about. But it was really a pleasure to have you here today, and thank you all for joining us for the Mind Body Home Show, Growing into Health, where we're going to discuss all kinds of topics here, and we'll catch you next time in your home.